Hello people, in this video I will be talking about one of the most important aspects of understanding the IELTS exam, the way the test is marked, that is your IELTS band scores. Okay, how do we calculate the IELTS band score? Let's look at the marking criteria. First thing we're going to look at is listening and reading. Okay, so in both the listening and the reading test, you will get 40 questions each. 40 for listening, 40 for reading. In listening, there will be 4 conversations. In reading, there will be 4 passages. So you are expected to get a score out of 40 for each of them. Now, for example, if you get 4 or 5 out of 40, it will be 2.5 bands. If you get 6 or 7, 3 bands. 8, 9 and 10 are given 3.5. 10, 11, 12, 4 bands. Then 13, 14 and 15, 4.5 bands. 16 and 17, 5 bands. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 5.5 bands. So this is a big chunk. You have to get over at least 22. Then 23, 24 and 25 will give you 6 bands. 26, 27, 28, 29 will give you 6.5. 30 and 31 will give you 7. 32, 33 and 34 will give you 7.5. 35 and 36 give you 8. 37 and 38 give you 8.5, and 39 and 40 out of 40 will give you the full score, which is 9 bands. It is quite possible, because these are 2 objective papers, so it's quite possible to get a 9 band score in at least your listening and your reading if you're very careful with what you're doing. So this is generally how we mark it. However, in the end, it depends on how difficult the test is which you're getting. So depending on the difficulty, the band score can change by half or 1. Okay. But if you go by what I have shown you here, you will most probably know your band score as soon as you've done your test. You will be able to get a fair idea. Okay. Also, in every test that you practice, you will be able to see what you're getting every single day. So it's very important. Remember that. Now, moving on, let's look at writing. So both writing task 1 and task 2 are marked on certain criteria. Okay. Over here, we are going to be looking at all these criteria which will help you. Fine. The first is task achievement or task response. This means that you managed to understand the question and you replied to it adequately. Task achievement, task response means that you have given the correct answer and you have completely looked at the question, and whatever questions were asked, like in the question for an essay, there can be 2 or 3 smaller questions within the question. So if you have addressed all of them, then that is called your task achievement. Okay. So don't give vague answers, and in case you have misunderstood the question, then that will cut your marks. So you have to fulfill these 2. Okay. Next is grammar and syntax. So grammar and syntax means that your sentence structure has to be correct, where the phrases are used, where the nouns are used, how the sentence has to be built is called grammar and syntax. That's obviously very important. Vocabulary. So vocabulary shows the range of words that you can use to express yourself. For example, instead of saying very angry, you should be using the word furious. It shows your vocabulary. Adding very to everything does not make you good at vocabulary. You have to find new words to express yourself. Okay. Next is spelling. So spelling is also very important. A lot of people think that maybe spelling isn't that important as long as they are able to convey what they're saying. But no, spelling over here is essential, because you will get separate band score for spelling itself. Okay, there will be marks. Another thing is that if you're using a computer to type on to practice, then there will be an autocorrect option which is generally switched on. So you will not be able to know where you're making your mistakes. So kindly take a pen and paper like I'm doing here and write it down. Your essay, your task 1, your graphs and letters, it's best to write it on paper as you're going to do over there. Okay. The last one is organization of the answer. Organization of the answer means the separate paragraphs which you have made. Okay, you have to write the whole test, the whole essay or the whole graph in separate legible paragraphs which are coherent, which have some logic to them. Okay, so organization is most important. If you want to know about all of these, I have discussed many essays on this channel, and I have discussed them in detail with vocabulary, with organization. So please check out those videos. You will get a fair idea about what you should be doing. Coming next to speaking. In speaking, you are marked on your fluency, okay, your coherence, accuracy, pronunciation, and vocabulary. Fluency means how smoothly you can talk without breaking your sentences, without thinking too much about what word you should be using. That shows your fluency. Coherence is logic. Does your answer sound logical, or are you just beating about the bush? So you don't beat about the bush, you don't give vague answers. You have to be coherent, logical while giving your answer. Accuracy, have you understood the question which was asked and given the correct response? Correct response does not mean that your opinion has to be the same as that of the examiner. What it means is that the question which has been asked should be addressed. You don't have to talk about something else, you know. Whatever specifically has been asked should be given. Pronunciation, we all know how we pronounce the word, how it sounds, right? So that doesn't mean we have to start talking like, in a British accent or in an Australian accent or whatever. That's not the point. You don't have to talk in a native accent, but your words should be clear, they should be legible, and the person should be able to make out what you're saying. That's most important. Coming finally to the vocabulary, that is once again the range of your word usage, the different type of words you can use to express the same feeling. Once again, in case you're interested in vocabulary, check out other videos on this channel. It'll help you a great deal. I can ascertain that. Okay. Now, how do you calculate your total score? So let's say you got your individual scores. Reading, you got A bands. Listening, you got B bands. Writing, you calculated C. Speaking, you calculated D. Okay. So you take all of these, you sum them up. A plus B plus C plus D, and then you divide it by 4, because the total score is an average. Okay, it's the average score. Now if you get a full score, like a whole number, like let's say 6 or 7 or 8 or 9, it's perfectly fine, the whole number. But if you get a decimal score, like after dividing, if you get 7.25 or you get 7.5 or you get 7.875, how do you then get your score? So 7.25 is, since it is less than 7.5, it will be rounded off to 7. Okay. So if it doesn't matter what is here, this number doesn't matter, this matters. Okay. So 0.25 will be rounded off to the previous number. 0.5 remains where it is. 7.5 will remain 7.5. But 7.875, since it is bigger than 7, it is bigger than 7.5, it will be rounded off to the next number, which is 8. So this is how you calculate your score. Now, once again, for your reading and your listening, it's easier to calculate your score because you have a definite table. But for your writing and for your speaking, you need somebody who can at least mark your paper and see how many mistakes you have made. Then you can get a fair idea about what score you're going to get. But in the end, it is an examiner dependent thing. So it will depend on the examiner what marks he is giving you for all these things. Alright, I hope this video helped you in understanding how you should be targeting your IELTS score. Okay, and thank you very much for watching this video. In case you need more help, please visit www.freeieltsprep.com with hyphens in between, because over there we've got free solved papers, so you can have a look, especially at your writing. Okay, because that seems to be the most difficult part for most students. Then also I request you to like this video, share it, comment on it, and let me know what you want me to do next for your IELTS tutorials. Thank you so much once again, and I'll see you next time.